In this video, you'll learn how to create openings for stairs, shafts, and MEP element penetrations. There are numerous methods to create openings and elements in your building model. On the Architecture tab, in the Opening panel, you can see several opening tools. You can also edit the sketch of various elements and create openings. Let's take a look at some examples. In this exercise file, there's a building that has a stair that extends from level 1 to level 2. And if we look at the level 2 floor plan view, it appears that the stair is hidden. But the issue is that we don't have an opening in this floor. That's what we can do is add an opening. On the Architecture tab, in the Opening panel, click Vertical to activate the Vertical Opening tool. And when you do, Revit prompts you to select a floor, roof, ceiling, or soffit to create a vertical opening. So we'll hover over the edge of the building here till we see the floor, and then we can simply click to select the floor. And then Revit goes into sketch mode. And there are several options in the draw gallery that you can use. And I'll use rectangle and sketch a rectangle around the stair. And I'm going to account for this tread right here at the end, and then clean up my sketch here so that it forms a closed loop. And then I'll click Finish Edit Mode. And when I do, I have now created an opening element using the vertical opening tool. And I can go back and select the floor opening cut, and I can actually drag it to a new location if needed. As you can see here, it's an actual element added to the model. I'm going to undo that. And so that's the difference between adding an opening to the sketch of the floor versus creating an opening element using that vertical opening tool. Next, let's create a shaft opening. Back on the Architecture tab in the Opening panel, click Shaft to activate the Shaft Opening tool. And then I'm going to use Rectangle again, and I'll sketch a rectangle here in this plumbing chase. And then that's for the boundary line. Next, I'm going to click Symbolic Line, and then I'm going to add the shaft symbol here by creating an X across this opening. And then I'll click Finish Edit Mode again. And now I have created a shaft opening. And so the difference here with the vertical opening tool and the shaft opening tool is that when you use the by face or the wall opening tool or the vertical opening tool, it's just going to create an opening in a single element. Whereas the shaft opening tool will create a vertical opening that will span multiple levels, as you can see there in the tooltip, and it'll cut through roofs, floors, and ceilings. So if I open the default 3D view, we can see that shaft opening has extended all the way through the roof. And when I select it, there are shape handles to control the top and bottom, or I can adjust the top constraint. That is one of the instance parameters. I can constrain the top to a specific level or leave it set to unconnected and then specify an unconnected height. So when I change that, I've now changed it to where it doesn't cut through the roof, but it'll cut through everything else between the top and bottom there. Okay, next let's take a look at the by face, the opening by face. So I'm going to go to the roof view, and on the Architecture tab in the Opening panel, I'll click by face to activate the Opening by Face tool. And now I can select a specific face. So if I select the face of this roof here, Revit goes back into sketch mode, and I will use the rectangle option again. Or in this case, I'll change it to circle. Let's say it's a a pipe or something that's penetrating the roof, or even a round duct. And I'll simply sketch a circle and then click Finish Edit Mode. And when I do, you can actually see a slight edge in there. And if we look at the default 3D view, you can see that it is perpendicular to the face of that roof. Whereas if I go back and we do the vertical opening option, we'll do basically the same thing. Same size, but in this case we have a vertical opening and then an opening by face, and so you can see the slight differences there. So depending on what the situation is, if you have a duct or a pipe that's penetrating the roof, if it needs to be vertical, you want to use that vertical opening tool, or if it needs to be perpendicular to the face, then you can use the by face tool. All right, go to a default 3D view here and take a look at a couple more options. Back on the Architecture tab in the opening panel, I'll click Wall to activate the Wall Opening tool. And now I can select a wall. And then Revit is simply just activates a tool to sketch a rectangle. There's no draw gallery, I simply need to sketch a rectangle. And I can sketch that, and then I'll click Modify to end the command. And now I have another opening element, and there are shape handles on each edge to adjust the size, as well as various instance parameters to control the size of that opening. And I can even drag it around as needed. And one more thing, I'm going to select that wall, and then on the Contextual Ribbon tab, I'll click Edit Profile. And now I have a draw gallery, and I'll use the rectangle tool there. And I'll simply sketch a rectangle and click Finish Edit Mode. And now I don't have an opening element, I simply just have a wall with an opening. There are shape handles there, so I can make some slight adjustments to two of the edges, but that is part of the actual wall. So editing the sketch, that just edits the wall sketch, whereas using one of the opening tools adds an actual opening element. So depending on what you need, if you need to make additional adjustments, you can use one of those opening options. And we have rather large openings here, but if we had some type of exhaust fan on the side, we could create an opening for a duct there, and we could create this opening element so that we could adjust it afterwards as needed. So once again, several options there for you to create openings in your building model.